Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So a few of you have been asking me how I put together my live streams for DJ sets and for radio shows. So I thought I'd make a couple of videos to show you how I do it. Now I respect that some of you may not have the equipment or at least have the same equipment as me, but hopefully you can pick up some guidelines that you can apply to your own setup at home to put together your own live stream. With that, before we get started, if there's a specific setup you have at home, don't hesitate to comment below and I'll do my best to work out a way I can make it work for you also. So a live stream is obviously an audio-visual broadcast. So with that, I thought it would be good to break these videos down into the audio and the visual, starting with this one, the audio. I personally have a Rode NT1 condenser microphone. I also use a pair of Technics 1210 turntables. That then goes into a Pioneer DJ-M 450 mixer. The mic and the DJ mixer then go into a Focusrite Scala 18i20 audio interface. I then use Ableton Live, and in this case I'll be using Ableton Live Intro to route my sound to two different outputs. One, to the monitors in the room, and two, to OBS software for my live stream broadcast. Here is my Ableton template project I use for my live streams. I'll walk you through this one really quickly, and then we'll start off fresh and build the same thing together. So as you can see, the inputs from my mic and decks come in discreetly on separate tracks. This allows me to do my favourite thing and make the music automatically duck whenever I decide to speak. My mic comes in on channel 8. Normally this would be on channel 1, but I don't want an XLR lead sticking out of the front of my device. And my decks come in on channels 3 and 4. Although right now I have a bed on that channel just to show you the ducking in action. I also have a track for jingles, or at least the one jingle I like to use when I do radio. Eclectivity. My mix track here is for the purpose of enabling my auto duck feature via means of sidechain compression. And my mute monitors track allows me to mute my in-room monitors every time I turn on the mic without affecting the output to my stream. This is so I don't get any feedback using a condenser mic very close to monitors. Over here I use an audio return track that I send to. This is to create a different output to my monitors to that of my live stream. Now one really cool thing, via MIDI mapping, via the click of one button on a MIDI controller, I can switch my microphone on while synonymously switching on the sidechain on my mixer via the compressor over here, and also switching off my monitors. Let's see it in action. Now what I'm about to show you is me clicking that button, turning on my mic, turning on the sidechain and turning off the monitors all in one. Did you see that? So what you're hearing right now is exactly how it would come out on the live stream. With the music nicely ducking, which we can visibly see here. And of course you can adjust the threshold accordingly. I quite like a really low threshold so it ducks all the way down. Minus 35 is a good level. And of course you can see that my monitor is switched off. However, I can still hear everything in my headphones because my monitor is queued, and my Q output is an alternative output 3 and 4, which is sent to my headphones. So I can hear myself, I can hear the music, eclectivity. I can hear my jingles, and it's all sounding really good. At the click of a button I can record, and as well as live streaming, I'm recording directly into Ableton. I can then save this down, maybe even do some edits, and upload that to SoundCloud, Mixcloud, whatever you please. Right, let's start this project again from scratch. So now we've got a fresh, new Ableton project, and I'm going to try and remember how I made the last one. So, first things first, remember we made an aggregate device. So because our inputs are only on mic and our DJ mixer, and they both come in the Scala 18i20, that can remain our input.
and our output has to be our aggregate device. That's because we want to send to the Soundflower as well as out of the monitors via the Scarlett 8920. So just to check our input configuration, of course this is only Ableton Live intro, so we can only have up to 8 inputs and outputs. This pretty much covers what we need. We need outputs 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Just to make it clear, let's only allow 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. And our output, it's already done for us. But again, we need outputs 1 and 2. This is for our in-room monitors. We need outputs 3 and 4. That's for our headphone monitors. And we need outputs 21 and 22. If we go back to our aggregate device over here, remember 21 and 22 is our output to our Soundflower. Cool, so that's all ready to go. Also, one other thing, and let's go back into that. One other thing to remember is to have your sample rate consistent all the way across the board. That's so you don't get any sample rate decay, I think is the word. Cool. So let me start completely from scratch. Delete these 2 MIDI tracks, we don't need them. Delete 1 audio track. Delete 1 return audio track. Cool, so first things first, we need our input from our microphone. That's our external in, and it's number 8. We want input monitoring on, but I'm actually going to switch that off for now. Cool, and also, while I'm here, let me just add a quick compressor, just to make sure it sounds nice. We'll give -10, and ratio of 2 to 1. I'm pretty close to the mic, so that's okay. If you don't know about compression, I won't go into it too much in this video, but you know, it's really good to have a nice compressor on a mic just to make sure your level is nice and consistent. Cool, so that looks good. We'll call this track mic or vocal maybe. I can't even spell today. Vocal. Cool. Command and T, we'll make another audio track. This one we'll call decks. Remember, my decks come in on input 3 and 4. Input monitoring on. I'm not actually going to play any records right now, so what I'm going to do instead is just find a random sound. I've got loads of random sounds, but I need to consider something that isn't going to shut me down once the copyright police get involved. So I'm just going to drag and drop in this bed. Yeah, cool. That's just another royalty-free bed I'm going to use for the purpose of this. Again, if you're not too consistent with your mixing, it might be worth adding a compressor on this channel as well. I'm not going to do that right now, but it's just worth knowing. I'm also going to add my jingles track. Again, Control T. I'm going to rename this jingles. And on my jingles track, again, what can I put? Let's try and pick a different jingle now. That's my go-to jingle. Sweet. Cool. So we've got our jingles. That doesn't need an input because it's just going to be played straight out of Ableton here. What do we have next? We had our mix track. Mix track. So remember, this one is so we can enable our auto ducking. So to do that, we need to make sure the decks go to the mix and the jingles go to the mix. Cool. Next thing, we need to make our master mute channel. Or what did we call it before? We called it mute monitors. And here we need to make sure that our mix goes to our mute monitors. And we also need to make sure our vocal goes to our mute monitors. I think that was correct, wasn't it? Yeah. I might be getting things wrong here, but hopefully not. I want input monitoring here, just to make sure that that goes straight through. Perfect. Input monitoring in here as well. Cool. I'm thinking as I go along, so please bear with me. We need to call this Livestream, because that's going to be our Livestream output. Sorry, that's incorrect. That is our monitors. This is our live stream. We can't rename the master track. And we also want a Q output of 3 and 4. This goes to an external output, and our monitors go in the room. Our master output, which is actually our live stream, goes to 21, 22. Hopefully it's all making sense so far. Like I said, I am thinking on my feet. I'm trying to remember how I put together the last one. We want to make sure that's on Q. We want our monitors to be queued. That's correct. Cool, looking so good so far, so good. We need to set up our sidechain for our auto ducking feature. So on our mix track, I'm going to go over here and add a compressor. The input of our compressor, we're going to make that a sidechain compression. This means that the input of something else is going to affect the compression on this track here. So let's just change it to this view. And I also, like I said in the last project, I like quite a low threshold, so you get that real dip, and quite a high ratio so it dips nicely. I'll go for like 6, somewhere between 5 and 8 normally is a nice bit of dip for you. Your release time, I quite like a slow release. It feels a bit more natural. There we go. You can see how the compressor would work if audio was to go through it. You can also do a look ahead. When you're doing live, look ahead is pretty irrelevant, but it's nice to add anyway. Cool, that looks good to me. Again, we want to make sure that's off to begin with. Cool, everything is looking so far so good. Let's give it a quick test. That's not going to our monitors. I know why that's not going to our monitors. Because we need to actually send this. Okay, I think that's right. So just to recap in my head, so the vocal is being sent directly to the monitors and only switches on when it's on. That's correct. The vocal also gets sent to the... Yeah, this looks good so far. Hopefully I haven't gone wrong anywhere. Let's just put that on no input so we don't get confused. It's going to the master and to our monitors. So far, this is looking good. Now, what we need to do next is enable our one button that switches on our mic, that also switches on our compressor, and also mutes our in-room monitors. So to do that, I'm going to click over here, MIDI mapping. This is where you can assign different keys on whatever MIDI controller you may have. I have the Ableton Push 2. Doesn't really matter what MIDI controller you have, as long as you have some controller that has one button that you can assign to all of these parameters. So let's open this so we can see what's being assigned. So first of all, we want the on of the vocal assigned to that button. We also want record enable to be assigned to that button. Like I said, if we go into our mix, we also want switching the compressor on to be that same button. We want our switching our monitors off to be that same button. Cool, that does remind me also to have my decks ready to record. Okay, this looks good to me. Shall we give it a test? Check 1, 2. Seems to work perfectly. And if we have a look over here, we can see our sidechain in action. You can see, because it's not highlighted, our monitors have switched off. Cool. I'm going to switch it off again. And I'm going to press stop. Perfect. So another thing we're going to want to do is Yeah. Your monitors are probably fine for this, but it's probably worth adding a compressor to your master channel, which is in fact your live stream send, just to make sure everything, just like on radio, everything sounds smooth before it reaches broadcast. So let's just put a -10 at a ratio of, could probably go a bit stronger than 2, but for now I'm just going to say 2, and rather than using makeup gain, I'm just going to say let's add 3. So if you use a bit of quick maths, that should probably peak at about -2 decibels. Cool, and there you have it. That is how I set up Ableton to reroute my audio for a live stream.
So hopefully now you have a nice understanding as to how I put together my DJ radio show live streams. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to put them down in the comment section below. And as always, like, subscribe, and share with all your DJ friends. Nice one.